Welcome to the Talking Archive. My name is Josh Jacobs, and it's an honor to be speaking with Ron Beaton, also known as Commandante, as Mike Horn calls him. Jennifer Horn told me to say that the other day, so just to let you know. And he was the longtime owner of 870 KIEV, and his family also owned KWKW. So, Mr. Beaton, thanks for being with us today.
You betcha. You betcha. Hold, Jeff, just 1 second here. Hold
sure.
on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to have to call you back. Go ahead. What was the question?
Oh, thank you for coming on with
about that.
That's all right. That's the beauty of live to tape radio.
Communications.
Yes, exactly. Good to see you.
No, that you were talking about KWKW with my dad started that in the 50s. It was in Pasadena in the basement of the what is it, the athletic club, Pasadena Athletic Club in
wow.
the basement.
Yeah, tell us how your dad started KWKW.
Pardon me?
Yeah, tell us how your dad started KWKW.
Well, you know, that was in the Army when he was doing that, and so I'm not sure how he came about it, but he had two partners, and they found this radio station, and it was in Pasadena, and they said, well, he was working, my dad had worked for KMPC, as you know, before, so this opportunity came up to buy the station, and he bought KWKW, and they went for this program. I'm not really sure because I wasn't a part of it. Mm-hmm. My brother was, Fred, but I wasn't. But he started with kind of a music format, and then all of a sudden, you know, Dad does not speak English, and he just said, you know, I think there's a Spanish market out there, and I think we'll go all Spanish, which he did. He went all Spanish, and again, he didn't understand Spanish or speak Spanish, but it took off. And Jaime Jarrín, remember Jaime Jarrín?
Oh, yeah.
With the Dodgers? Well, he started Jaime out there, and Jaime came in to do a radio show, and he said, hey, Jaime, I've got a chance to pick up the Spanish programming for the Dodgers. And Jaime said, Mr. Beaton, I don't know anything about baseball, so really I couldn't do that. He said, Jaime, don't worry about it. I'm going to teach you everything you want to know. So he says, are you sure? And he said, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. So at any rate, he got him in there and taught him how to do the radio show in Spanish, and you know what happened with Jaime? He went to the top. So
oh, yeah.
He did absolutely the top. So that was a good thing for KWKW, and a very good thing for Jaime. His programming was thoroughbred racing as well. We had thoroughbred racing on with the station with Bill Garr. Do you remember Bill Garr?
Sounds familiar.
He did the calls of the race every day on KWKW, the racing days for the Hollywood Park, Del Mar, and Santa Anita. And that went on for Jiminy Christmas, I think, when Dad sold the station, and I think it was 1959 or 1960. He was there all the time, and then, of course, he bought KIEV in Glendale.
That's great. And when he switched it to Spanish, not knowing any Spanish, how did he get other people there? He got first of all, how did he find Jaime Jarrín? That was just obviously a great
something, word of mouth. There was another. I got to try to remember the names. Oh my gosh, it's been a long time, so I just don't have the name right offhand. But there was a Spanish fellow that did a radio show in Spanish with his wife. And I hope I can remember before we cut off the interview. It was 100 years ago for me. Anyway, there was a couple that went in there and really helped him with it. A Spanish couple. The woman was a singer, and she did a great show and a lot of entertainment. And her husband did the speaking and interviews with different people and what have you. And then he was the one that found the Spanish people to come in. That's great. Yeah, so he just picked him. It just started with. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. I should have been prepared for that. I don't have it. I got it on the top of my tongue, but I just can't get it. But anyway, this was the talent. He would be the guy. The husband did all of the hiring for the Spanish-speaking programming, and I wish I had his name.
Well, that's okay. Now, after KWKW got sold, you bought 870 KIEV. How did that come about?
Okay, the dad got that. That was his deal. He bought the station, which was a 250-watt station, and it was Canon, and it was a Canon and Callister station. They had it from the beginning in the early 1900s, and he just said, I think I'm going to go out and look for a station, and he knew of the Callisters, and he called and said, you're interested in selling the station? And they said, at the right price, we'll do it. So anyway, they found the right price, and he moved into that, the KIEV, in 1961, and had two partners, Dr. Londiger and Alan Draghi, and they were partners of about 10 or 15% each, and then Dad had the majority of it. And that went on until Fred and I came. Well, I started radio in KITO in San Bernardino, and then left that and then went to work for KDAY in Hollywood. And then Dad had bought the station, KIEV, in the 61, I believe. And he asked, I had just signed a contract, too, to go to work for his other station that he sold, KWKW, and had a contract that was just leaving K-Day and going to work for KWKW. And my dad said, Rod, I need you. And I said, I got a contract. I don't think I can break it. So at any rate, I found a way. He really needed me. He found a way to break the contract, and I went from K-Day over to KIEV, and with the Alan Draghi, as I told you, and Dr. Londiger. And we, as you know, went on from KIEV in 61 and went through a lot of power increases. We were a daytime station, and we got it 24 hours eventually. We increased the power from 250 watts to 500 watts, and then up to 10,000 watts, and I think it's 20,000 watts, or maybe even more now.
Mm-hmm. And when you were at K-Day, what was your job description there?
I was a sales.
Oh, okay.
And sales for 2 years. What
was the format? Do you recall?
It was oldies but goodies with Alan Freed, with Jim Hawthorne. You remember Jim Hawthorne?
Weather Eyes.
Yeah, that's it. And we went on there. I did very well. I was making a really a good living, and we just went on and on and on. But that went on until 1960. I went in 1959. 60, left there in 61 to go with my dad, and then I went into sales as well. So we went from sales on KDAY over to sales at KIEV.
Now, what was the format of KIEV when your dad first bought the station?
It was a lot of religion and talk, local talk.
Wow. Who are some of the personalities that were on that station that you can recall? Originally, I guess. Yeah,
I don't have the names real handy, the on-the-air personalities, because, it was before my time. I remember some of the guys there, but I can't get the names right now.
That's okay.
1959.
Now,
1961.
Yeah, 61. Now, after that, you did go to a country format, and you had some great personalities on there, like Frosty Harris, formerly of KRLA. You had it was called Young Country.
Young Country, that's right.
Joe Nixon was probably your biggest...
Joe Nixon, he was the program director.
Yeah, what were your memories of Joe, by the way?
It was just great. He was a great guy to work with, really a talented guy. He did everything. He did on the air and set up the programming, the interviews and all. He was great. He was very good.
And you also had Frosty Harris, who had formerly been on KRLA.
Yeah, we called him Frosty the Snowman. Frosty Harris, right.
Yeah. And then even Chuck Wilder, from I read.
Chuck Wilder was there. Yeah, Chuck Wilder stayed with us for a long time with a lot of different formats.
Oh, yeah. I was like, wow, I was kind of surprised about that one because I remember him being George Putnam's on-air sidekick on the original Talkback. And you also had Tom Brennan, Gordon Calcote, Jack Morris.
Jack Moore. Yeah, Jack Moore was quite a guy, too. He was a lot of fun.
That's great. And tell us about Jack. What's your memories of him?
He was just a fun guy to be with. He did anything you want him to be. If you needed a job done, he would do it. He did the spots as far as recording different spots for different clients. He was always there, always eager to get what you want, get what your programming wanted, get what the management wanted, and get what the people on the air wanted to listen to. He was just a really a nice guy and a very talented guy.
That's great. Have you kept in contact with him?
No, I haven't. I don't think I don't know that he's still going, is he?
Yeah, I'm not sure. LAradio.com, I looked up his name, and there was no information whether he was still around or not. I was under the unknown category.
I haven't heard from him since we were on the air together. Well, that goes way back. I mean, I haven't heard from him. But I guess after we changed the format, I never heard from him again.
Yeah, now from country you went to oldies or talk. I'm a little confused about that.
We went to talk first, a little bit of talk, and religion, and then we changed it to country western.
Oh, okay.
But no, it was music of the Radio America. Let's see, we did the Spanish. We changed it to religion and some talk, and then we went from that to all talk with all personalities, like George Putnam and what's the name? The designer.
Mr. Blackwell.
Blackwell, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Blackwell was on, and then Superfan was on for sports, and Ray Bream was on after George Putnam.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had Bill Garr was still on the air with us too, with the races, call of the races from the different tracks, as I mentioned before. And we had what's his name? How Your Mind Can Keep You Well. Can't remember.
I know that book, and I'm drawing a blank on the author too myself.
Yeah, it'll come to me. But he was a good friend, too. He was a good broadcaster. I wish I would have talked to you a little bit before so I could have had these names ready for you.
Oh, that's okay. Let's see. I'll look that up, and we'll just...
He was on, but How Your Mind Can Keep You Well, he was on Monday through Friday, and he had a slot in the morning drive, and he did very well. He was on with us for many, many years.
Oh, Roy Masters.
Roy Masters, that's right, Roy Masters. Good for you for bringing that up. That's great.
Yeah, from Great Britain, and he was on 870 for many, many years.
Yes, he was.
And he just passed away about 2 years ago at the age of...
About 2 years, that's right.
92, I think it was. His son, David, was on him the last couple years of the show. And Mark Masters was the founder of the Talk Radio Network. I don't think it exists...
Is he still out there, Mark?
No, Mark's Talk Radio Network is not around anymore. I actually worked with someone named J.J. Corona, who actually worked for Talk Radio Network up in Oregon. And it syndicated a lot of programs in its heyday, probably about 15 years ago, from Laura Ingraham to Michael Savage to Jerry Doyle, and, of course, Roy's show itself as well. But those other hosts have gone to other syndicators, or just they're doing a podcast now on their own.
So none of the Masters are around that you know of?
Mark and David, his sons, are still alive. I'm not sure if they're doing a show.
Yeah.
Because Roy's show hasn't been on 870 for about 14 years now.
I would say that's right. You're right.
And then Dick Sinclair was a great personality at KIEV.
He was our program director. He was a great. He did the. He was the spokesman for Farmer John's Meats, Farmer John products, and he did the polka parade on the station for about, I guess it was 10 years. I think that was on Saturday or Sunday. He had an hour show, and then he was the program director as well.
In fact, he did the polka parade on KTLA Channel 5 back in the 1950s, and his announcer was originally named Jim Nars, but most people remember him as Tom Kennedy.
Tom Kennedy, yes.
Yeah, Name That Tune and You Don't Say.
Yes.
And I got to meet both Dick as well as Tom. And
Dick
both
was a great guy.
He
was
was.
A really fun guy to be with. He passed away, too, I guess he passed away about 8 years ago.
Yeah, he was out in the desert the last couple of years of his life, but still keeping active.
Yeah, he was out there. He retired out there.
And then it was interesting because Dick had worked at KIEV originally from 1950 to 54. Then he went to KFI for about 14 years and then back to KIEV in 1968. How did you get him back from KFI? Do you remember the story there?
I think it was from another person that was doing a show over there. And it might have been Mike Horn with talk radio.
Wow.
It might have been him. They were very good friends, and I think Mike had something to do with bringing him over.
Oh, that's great. And I remember the first person to tell me about Dick Sinclair was Doug Kramer, who is a longtime board operator. I think he worked at KIEV, and he worked at KFI as well as KHOF 99.5, which was originally Pastor Ray Schock was the leader of that. And then in 1975, Dr. Gene Scott took over, which stood for Kindred House of Faith. And Doug I worked with for about 14 years. And Doug was really he was always on time. In fact, he always came at least half an hour early. He was never, ever late in the 14 years I worked for him. And but he said, Dick Sinclair is a really sharp guy and just spoke the world about Dick.
Everybody liked Dick. He was just a really good guy, not complicated at all. And Gene Scott, Gene Scott owned the transmitter site that we were on.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I made a deal with him. I got a chance to go to Mexico with him and Lod Cook from Marco. And we went out to do some shotguns, do some shooting and what have you, and had a good time, very good time together. And I said, Gene, we'd sure like to buy your property, so it's not for sale. And I said, well, it's got to be for sale for the right price. And he said, Ron, it's just, I tell you, then he said, wait a minute, I've got my jet plane is needing work. I'll tell you what I'll do. If you come up with this amount of money within 30 days, cash, you could have it. And that was about 4.5 acres up off the 2 freeway.
Mm-hmm.
So we put something together with the bank and what have you, and we were kind of lagging there because this was at the beginning. We were not really financially able at that time, but we got together and got the money together at the last minute, the 30th day, and that changed everything. We were, from that time on, we really went. We picked up the station, owned the tower, put the towers up on the hill. If you go by the 2 freeway, you'll see the 2 towers up there standing tall, which Fred and I climbed to the top of them, and my son helped Fred Hignite put the tower. He was the engineer, helped him put the lights and run the cables. So my son was up there, RJ, and Fred and I went to the top of the towers, and I'll tell you, coming down was not easy. Going up was not bad, but then all of a sudden, that thing, as you know, those towers are just thin, like they're a foot wide. And we went up and came down. We had one heck of a time with it, and that changed everything for us. I mean, then we went on with the 24 hours, and then life was good. We did really, really well.
Yeah, in fact, I remember Doug Kramer had told me that originally that site was the transmitter for 99.5 KHOF. And so it's kind of ironic that 99.5 and 870 are now both owned by Salem Communications. So I guess what goes around comes around.
Comes around.
This is the Talking Archive. My name is Josh Jacobs. We're talking with Ron Beaton Sr., one of the co-owners of KIEV 870 for a very long time, from 1961 to 1998. Now, next time, Ron tells us about the sale of 870 KIEV to Salem Communications and the deal they brokered with the property of the transmitter. It's a very interesting story, and that's going to be next time.